Stanford University. Please be seated. Welcome to the 2013 Stanford University Baccalaureate. This ceremony has a long history in American universities. The same word that refers to the college degree also means a religious service for graduating students. Here at Stanford, the baccalaureate is a multi-faith experience, celebrating the magnificent pluralism that this university has come to embody. Our speaker today and the student who will be sharing a reflection come from different religious traditions, Sikh and Jewish. We began with a Buddhist call to prayer. The invocation is from the Native American tradition, and you will hear readings from Christian, Hindu, and Jewish sources. Talisman will sing spiritual songs from Africa and the African diaspora, and Taiko's drumming blessing has Japanese roots. The Menlo Brass Quintet's music is from the Western European canon. This should feel like a festival of and for the world. We're honored to have Valarie Kaur here today as our speaker. She gave the student reflection at the baccalaureate celebration exactly 10 years ago, and since has earned degrees from the Harvard Divinity School and the Yale Law School. She's worked tirelessly and very publicly to promote positive interfaith relations throughout the country and to advocate for civil rights for all. Welcome back to Stanford, Valarie. Our student reflection will be given by Jonathan York of the class of 2013. He's an international relations major with a minor in human biology, and he's perhaps best known on campus for his work in chairing the ASSU Nominations Commission and co-chairing the Board on Judicial Affairs, which worked on passing the alternate review process. And he's also served as a student representative on the Board of Trustees. Congratulations to each of you who will graduate tomorrow. And congratulations to your families and your friends. You should note that there are 4 advanced degree candidates listed in your program notes who won't ever be able to take part in graduation activities. They died during the last academic year. And the flowers here on the dais are in their memory. Life is so precious and in many ways so fragile. In the midst of this celebration today, we do well to honor Tucker, Yi, Lyndon, and Robert, and to give thanks for their unique contributions to the world during their short but full lives. Please join me in a moment of silence now so that we can reflect on their time with us and on their passing. Amen.
Please join me now for a joint reading in the Invocation. Although I am not a member of the Anishinaabe, Chippewa, or Ojibwe Nation, I feel honored to lead you in this prayer. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones who must come back together to walk in the sacred way. Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other.
Be a gardener, dig and ditch, toil and sweat, and turn the earth upside down, and seek the deepness and water the plants in time. Continue this work and make sweet floods to run and noble and abundant fruits to spring. Take this food and drink and carry it to God as your true worship.
If someone with courage and vision can rise to lead in nonviolent action, the winter of despair can, in the twinkling of an eye, be turned into the summer of hope. Nonviolence is not a garment to be put on and off at will. Its seat is the heart, and it must be an inseparable part of our being. It is a plant of slow growth, growing imperceptibly but surely. If a single person achieves the highest kind of love, it will be sufficient to neutralize the hate of millions. If we are to reach real peace in this world, we shall have to begin with the children. The future depends on what we do in the present.
Sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. You used to rock me in the cradle of your arms. You said you'd hold me till the pains of life were gone. You said you'd comfort me in times like these, and now I need you. Now I need you. And you are gone. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. the things that made me feel so wonderful when I was young. I think on the things that made me laugh, made me dance, made me sing. I think on the things that made me grow into a being full of pride. I think on these things, for they are true. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I thought that you were gone, but now I know you're with me. You are the voice that whispers all I need to hear. I know a please, a thank you, and a smile will take me far. I know that I am you and you are me and we are one. I know that who I am is numbered in each grain of sand. I know that I've been blessed again and over again. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own
Dean McLennan, President Hennessy, professors and staff, family and friends, and most of all, the class of 2013, it is a profound gift for me to return to Stanford to address you. When I stood in this exact spot 10 years ago to deliver the student address at my own graduation, the future spread out before me. I believed what they tell us on graduation day, that our Stanford education empowers us to change the world, that we are the ones we have been waiting for. But what they never tell you in college is just how dangerous the journey might be, or what that courage might cost you. So today I could tell the story of how I found my passion in a classroom on the main quad right over there, or how I snuck a raft onto Lake Lagunitas in the middle of the night. I won't tell you in front of the president. Or how I survived SLE. But the story I must tell you today begins in crisis. It was my junior year at Stanford. I was crumpled on the floor, watching the towers fall, grieving the overwhelming loss of life on 9/11, and then flashed an image of Osama bin Laden with a turban and beard. I realized that America's new enemy looked like my family. My father's father had sailed by steamship from India to San Francisco in 1913, exactly 100 years ago this year. My family lived on the land that he farmed. I grew up on that land, but in that instant, hate crimes broke out on city streets across America, and Sikh Americans, Muslim Americans, Arab Americans were chased, beaten, gunned down. And when a man who I knew as an uncle was murdered in the first hate crime after 9/11 in Mesa, Arizona, when his story barely made the evening news, what brave thing did I do? I hid in my room for 3 days. I turned to my bookshelf for comfort. I was a religious studies student after all, and there was the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Guru Granth Sahib, and what sacred book did I reach for to give me comfort? Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter, where the bad guys were named Death Eaters, and the kids took risks when others wouldn't. I stopped reading and I looked at my camera on my bed, and I had this idea to film the chaos outside of my window. I was only 20, a woman of color with no film experience. I could not act alone, but it was my grandfather, my mother's father, who urged me to act. My grandfather was the most fearless man I knew. He was a soldier in World War II. So when he taught me a prayer, Tati Vana Lagi, Bad Brahm Shanai, I took it as the secret to his fearlessness. With his prayer on my heart, I wrote my professor, Linda Hess, with my idea, and she said, "You're in a position to enter this unique moment in history and catch the life of it. It's like entering the whirlwind." So I grabbed my camera, I left Stanford, I crisscrossed the country capturing hundreds of stories of violence. When I got back to campus, the war drums were beginning to sound louder and louder, and I was terrified that war would mean more violence. So my friends and I began to organize pockets of protest through the spring of 2003. We called ourselves The Pocket. And by the time I reached my graduation day, I thought we were actually making a difference. You know how the story goes. The years went by and the wars went on, and my classmates came home in coffins. My high school lost the most number of soldiers in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, more than any other school in the country, and my camera could not focus on all the stories. They were happening so fast: hate crimes, detentions, deportations, surveillance, profiling, torture. And finally, while I was filming an anti-war protest as a legal observer in the streets of New York City, I found myself on the other side of my stories. Wrongfully arrested, my arm badly twisted by a New York City police officer, detained in a makeshift detention center nicknamed Guantanamo on the Hudson. Staring at the bars, my useless hand against my chest, it was my grandfather's prayer that rose to my lips, Tati Vana Lagi Bad Brahm Shanai. But when I got out, my injury did not heal. The pain was so bad, I wanted to cut my arm clean off, but during the day, I pretended to hide the pain. I didn't reach for help. I stayed away from the streets. My story could have ended there. The story of another idealistic college graduate who got hit by the real world, who finally gave up, got real. But it was Stanford who ended up saving me. It wasn't a seminar or a term paper. It was The Pocket. It was my friends who reached out to me when I didn't know I even needed help. And it was Dean Tommy Woon who taught me the greatest lesson that changed my life. He said, if we drive ourselves into the ground, if we pretend that we are perfect, if we hide our pain and imperfection, then we are embodying the very dysfunction and neglect we seek to heal out in the world. The way we make change is just as important as the change we make. I decided that I wanted to make change with love and with joy. So I leaned on my friends. I teamed up with a very handsome young director. We finished the film that I started at Stanford. I fell in love with said director and married him. He's right over there. Love is possible, young graduates. And together for the last 10 years, we've made films and run campaigns using storytelling for social change. Together, we've seen the human spirit shine in the darkest corners of the world, in the eyes of children who've survived mass shootings, in the eyes of families torn up by immigration raids, in the eyes of inmates who've spent years in solitary confinement, even in the eyes of soldiers I met at the real Guantanamo Bay, hoping and changing for a different world. In all of them, I saw the faith that has the power to surmount even the darkest moments. All of this led me to found Groundswell at Auburn Seminary, where we now mobilize nearly 100,000 people of faith in campaigns for justice. Class of 2013. I still have enormous questions about the future. Please don't get me wrong. I still listen for my calling. I am still paying back my college loans. It's true. But I have learned one thing. You don't have to be superhuman or super smart, super techie, or super fuzzy. You don't have to be super anything in order to stand for what you believe. All you must do is keep alive the desire to do good. Just keep that desire alive. And when the moment comes calling, don't lose faith. This is not an easy task. The world can be a brutal place. You have seen this, whether it's gunfire in a school in Newtown, or a bomb that goes off at the finish line of a marathon, or news of the rising sea levels, or the widening gap between the rich and poor. Your idealism will be tested over and over and over again. Last August, when a white supremacist walked into a gurdwara, a Sikh house of worship, and opened fire in the greatest hate-based mass shooting in recent US history, I was there on the ground. I saw the blood on the floor of the prayer hall. I thought perhaps nothing had changed. I thought perhaps that all of my work hadn't made a difference at all. And then the phone rang. It was the pocket. And it kept ringing, and it kept ringing. It was my friends, and they were organizing using Facebook and Twitter, letters and petitions demanding that the US government respond. And you know what? It worked. Just 1 week ago, the FBI finally agreed to track hate crimes against Sikh Americans and other communities to protect against such violence in the future. For the first time in history. Something had changed. In the 10 years since I stood on this stage, the world has become a darker place in many ways, but it has also become home to a powerful force for good, you. A few years ago, I watched my grandfather's body swallowed up by the Parkinson's disease. He managed to smile at each of us around his deathbed, fearless to the very end. When he died, I was so angry with him. I felt like he left me without teaching me the real secret to his fearlessness. I had the prayer rise up in me, Tati vana lagi pad brahm shanai, and then I realized that I didn't know what it meant. So, like a good Stanford student, I Googled it. The hot winds cannot touch me. I am sheltered by the divine. Tati vana lagi pad brahm shanai. The hot winds cannot touch me. Class of 2003. I'm talking to myself now, you see? Class of 2013. Whatever you do, wherever you go after tomorrow, whether it's in public service or academia or a corporate office or an NGO or an urban farm, you will find that courage is dangerous business. You may be broken and bleeding. You may find yourself awake in the night with a ghost in your throat. You may find your arm twisted, your heart broken in two. But the hot winds cannot touch you if you have faith. Faith in God or faith in goodness. Faith that love can conquer death and destruction and despair. Faith in yourself, faith in each other. Just as I stood on the stage 10 years ago, I look out and I see my mother and father. I see my family, I see my professors, and I see the pocket. I have learned in the darkest of times to have faith in your faith in me. So class of 2013, this is what I would like to leave you with. If you think of your life as a great journey, filled with splendors and dangers and chances to make the world a better place, and you hold fast to the friends you have made here, there will be only one thing left to do when the whirlwind comes calling. Enter it with your whole heart. Thank you and congratulations.
Hi, good morning, everyone. The next song that we have for you is titled One by One, and it is a song born out of and inspired by the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. Sung in the traditional South African language of Xhosa, the lyrics translate as follows. Hold on tight, my people. Do not get weary. Do not lose your strength. For we can see that they wanted to finish us, but one by one, they will not succeed. One by one, we will win. We will win because we know who we are. Come and see the cowards, they are running away, come and see. The color of my skin is dark, I am proud of it. The color of my skin is dark, I will die with it. Oh yes, it is beautiful in Africa, and we will win one by one.
One by one, ngeke balunge, sizoqoba, ngeke balunge, ibambe ninjalo bakithi ningadinwa, kamashla,
siyababa, na bebe funa kusiqala one by one.
dikwela kite Afrika.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan York. I'm not from New York. My family isn't either. I'm not from England, nor were my ancestors. And contrary to popular belief, I am not the rightful heir to a peppermint patty empire. No, I am a York because my dad landed at JFK one cold night in 1970 and decided to be one. I'm a York because Yadegaran was too long and too foreign. I'm a York because Ellis Island was already a museum, so 15-year-old David did it himself. Today, my family lives in Los Angeles and Tehran and Tel Aviv. I am American, I am Iranian, I am Israeli, I am Jewish. I'm an unlikely combination if there ever was one. I'm the product of my mother, whose family fled Khomeini's revolution and landed in, of all places, Akron, Ohio. And my father, the son of a great rabbi, whose first home in America was a Manhattan subway station. I didn't know just how much of a contradiction I was growing up, surrounded mainly by those who looked like me and sounded like me. It never seemed to me a conflict to celebrate Nowruz and Passover within days of one another. So I never really knew. That was until I came to Stanford. Until I went to Shabbat services at Hillel and heard Ashkenazi melodies foreign to my Sephardic ears. Until I studied abroad in Madrid and had to answer time and again that same follow-up question, where are you really from? Until I participated in Stanford and Washington, and the Farsi and Hebrew skills that I'd learned at home became strategic assets. Yet through it all, there remained one place where for all my contradictions, I was still just Jonathan. And that was right here, at this place, at Stanford. This place where I've been humbled not just by my classmates' incredible achievements, but more often by their humility. This place of discovery where learning begins in the classroom, but extends far beyond, to the stories and the hopes and fears we all brought to the farm. This is a place where for the past 4 years, we've had the privilege of being together, of living and learning and laughing together. Together, we have won and lost, tried and sometimes failed. We've reached great heights and fallen deeply in love. Most importantly today, this is a place where contradictions are opportunities, where difference is good. Because we all have contradictions, those that fester inside of us and those others can see. 4 years ago in our dorms, we crossed a line, sharing those contradictions and along with them, our greatest fears and hopes. looking for understanding and support. Today, we look around at our friends and our colleagues, our parents and professors. We look around and we see in them all those who made our unlikely contradictions possible and their synergies so beautiful. Our parents, many of whom raised us with little, but who raised us to be Stanford students and today graduates. Our friends, whose backgrounds, as different as they may be from our own, colored the rich tapestries of our time here. Our professors and mentors who took even the most stubborn among us and opened our eyes to new ideas and new perspectives. So look around you. Take in this moment, and with the strength of our common experience, let us walk forward together, tested but not weary, to a future where from our many contradictions, we may derive but inspiration and light. Congratulations. Now, before I go, there's one last gift that I want to leave to my dear class of 2013. It's a blessing with roots in the deserts of Sinai that has been passed down for thousands of years in the Jewish tradition. But it's also a blessing given to me by my grandfather, who I am so lucky to have here today. It's a blessing he gave me at the doorstep of our home each and every time I left to come back to Stanford. So today, as we stand at this threshold, as we walk together through the doors of whatever comes next, I want to share this blessing with all of you. Yevarechecha Adonai veishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha vichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God's face be lifted up upon you, and may he give you peace. Amen.
I invite you to rise for the benediction. There is a divine dream which the prophets and the rabbis have cherished and which fills our prayers and permeates the acts of true piety.
It is a dream of a world rid of evil by the grace of God, as well as by the efforts of people who are dedicated to the task of establishing the oneness of God in the world.
The Eternal has not created the universe so that we might have opportunities to satisfy greed, envy, and ambition.
We should not spend our lives hunting for trivial satisfactions while God is waiting for our efforts and devotion.
We have not survived so that we might waste our years in vulgar vanities. God is waiting for us to redeem the world. Please be seated.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.